Are you okay? Did they hurt you anywhere else?
I think I'm all right. Just shaken up. He came out of nowhere.
Single dad found a female cop, dying. What he and his dog did shocked the entire police force. It was just past midnight when Daniel Parker, a single dad of 8-year-old Lily, clipped a leash onto his German Shepherd, Max, and stepped into the crisp night air. Walking Max was part of his routine, his way of finding quiet after putting Lily to bed. But tonight would be anything but ordinary. Just a few blocks away from his suburban street, Max suddenly froze, ears upright, nose twitching. Before Daniel could react, the dog lunged forward, pulling him down a narrow alley. There, under the faint glow of a flickering streetlight, lay a woman in uniform, her chest heaving, her shirt stained with blood. A police officer. Daniel's heart slammed in his chest. "Oh my God," he whispered, rushing forward. "Stay with me!" The officer's lips trembled. Ambush backup never came. Her voice was barely audible. Daniel had no medical training beyond a few YouTube videos, but something primal kicked in. He yanked off his jacket and pressed it hard against the wound. Max barked, pacing, then bolted into the street. Daniel shouted after him, but the dog ignored him. Within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. Daniel's phone buzzed in his pocket. He'd forgotten he'd dialed 911 while applying pressure. The dispatcher reassured him, but he knew the officer was fading. Then, through the blare of sirens, Daniel realized what Max had done. His loyal dog had run to the main road, barking wildly, guiding a patrol car straight into the alley. The cops jumped out, guns drawn, but froze at the sight. An ordinary single dad kneeling in the blood-stained alley, desperately trying to keep one of their own alive, while his dog stood guard like a soldier, pressures on the wound. Daniel shouted, refusing to move until paramedics rushed in. One officer's voice cracked. "That's Officer Ramirez. She's been missing for hours." As the ambulance doors closed, an officer grabbed Daniel's arm. "You saved her. Without you, without your dog, she'd be gone." Daniel shook his head, his voice breaking. "No, it wasn't me. It was Max. He wouldn't let me walk past." Days later, Daniel was called to the police precinct. Nervous, he thought maybe he was in trouble for interfering. Instead, he walked into a standing ovation. Officers lined the hall, clapping, some with tears in their eyes. At the center was Officer Ramirez, pale but alive, leaning on crutches. She looked at Daniel and whispered, "You didn't just save me. You gave my little boy his mom back." The room went silent. Daniel felt a lump in his throat. He thought of Lily, what life would be like if she lost him. The realization hit hard. The police chief stepped forward. "Mr. Parker, Max, you've reminded us why we serve. Because ordinary people still do extraordinary things." He knelt to pin a small badge on Max's collar, Honorary K9. The room erupted in applause. But Daniel only looked down at his dog, his loyal companion, who wagged his tail proudly. That night, back home, Lily hugged Max tighter than ever. "Daddy," she whispered, "you and Max are heroes." Daniel kissed her forehead, his eyes misting. "Sweetheart, heroes are just people who don't walk away when someone needs help." And somewhere in the city, a young boy slept peacefully because a single dad, his daughter, and a dog chose compassion over fear. It all began like an ordinary night for Daniel Parker, a hard-working single dad in his mid-30s. He lived in a quiet neighborhood with his little girl, Lily, and their German Shepherd, Max. Life wasn't easy, balancing long shifts at work and bedtime stories at night, but Daniel made it work. Lily was his world, and Max was more than a dog. He was family. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, Daniel slipped on his hoodie and clipped the leash to Max's collar. The cool air and silence always helped clear his mind. But within minutes, everything changed. Max froze in his tracks, ears pointed, muscles tight. Then, without warning, he yanked the leash so hard Daniel almost lost his grip. "Whoa, buddy, what's wrong?" Daniel muttered. But Max wasn't listening. He dragged Daniel down a dim alley. At first, Daniel thought it was a stray animal. Then his breath caught. There, collapsed on the pavement, was a woman in uniform. Police officer, blood pooled beneath her, dark and glistening under the weak streetlight. Her hand twitched, trying to reach her radio, but her eyes were fluttering shut. Daniel's instincts kicked in. He dropped to his knees. "Stay with me, officer. Don't you dare give up." Her lips parted. Ambush. Alone? Help. Her voice cracked, barely more than a whisper. Daniel yanked off his jacket, pressing it firmly against her wound. He wasn't a medic. He wasn't trained. But right then, he refused to let her die alone. His hands shook as he pulled out his phone and screamed at the 911 dispatcher, begging them to hurry. Max barked, once, sharp and urgent, then bolted down the alley toward the main road. "Max!" Daniel shouted, but his dog didn't stop. Minutes felt like hours. The officer's breathing grew shallow, her eyes glassy. Daniel kept pressure on the wound, whispering, "Think of your family. Think of the people who love you. Stay with me." And then sirens. A squad car screeched to a halt. Daniel turned in disbelief. There was Max standing in the middle of the street, barking like mad, guiding the officers to the exact spot. The cops jumped out with weapons raised, only to freeze at the scene. A civilian kneeling in blood, trying desperately to keep one of their own alive, while a loyal German shepherd guarded like a sentinel. "She's alive," Daniel yelled. "Pressure's on the wound, don't let go." Paramedics rushed in, and as they lifted the officer onto a stretcher, one of the cops whispered, his voice breaking, "That's Officer Ramirez. She went missing hours ago. We thought—" He trailed off. Daniel sat back, his hands covered in blood, heart pounding. He looked at Max, who sat calmly beside him now, as if he'd known what to do all along. 2 days later, Daniel got a call he never expected. The police department wanted him to come down. Nervous, he thought he might be in trouble for interfering. Instead, when he opened the precinct doors, he was stunned. Every officer stood at attention. Then came the applause. Daniel froze, overwhelmed. And then, through the crowd, Officer Ramirez appeared, pale but alive, leaning on crutches. Her eyes met his. She whispered, voice trembling, "You didn't just save me. You gave my little